8 years ago, they thought they had destroyed pure evil forever. But some promises can never be broken, and some demons never truly die. This time, the devil isn't coming for revenge. It's coming for an unborn child. And what this family uncovers is far more terrifying than anything they faced before. This is the horrifying story of Kafir. The Spirit Gate begins by showing Sri. It was a scene from 8 years later. Sri is digging a pit, and inside that pit, she pins down a snake, gouges out one of its eyes, puts it in an amulet, and cuts her own hand to pour blood over it, praying that the amulet will protect her family from all evil, watch over them, and keep them safe. Anyway, inside the house, Andy keeps teasing his sister, Dina. He jokes that she's always so serious because of law school. According to him, that's probably why she's still single. Andy's wife is Ronnie, and she also joins in on their fun. It's clear they share a very loving relationship. Meanwhile, Andy suggests that Dina find a boyfriend, and instead of interning at a law firm, Andy asks his sister to help manage the sugarcane farm business of their deceased father, Herman. Dina says that managing the fields will waste all her hard work of studying law, so she wants to continue with it, and her brother can take good care of their father's business. Moments later, Ronnie points out that Andy simply does not want to send his sister away from him, and meanwhile, Sri enters the house and checks the amulet hanging on the door. Sri counts the marks on the amulet and says that this is the number 5, meaning an odd number. There were 5 black circular markings on it. Right then, when Ronnie asks for the reason, Dina explains to her that according to their mother Sri, if the marks on this pouch become an even number, meaning 6, then a massive catastrophe could befall the family. Anyway, after this, Sri tells Dina to stop working and have breakfast. Right then, Andy looks at the cut mark on his mother's hand and says that 8 years have passed since their father Herman passed away. Even after 8 years, why do you still perform this ritual every day? Sri explains that she does all this solely for safety and doesn't want to lose anyone, because whatever happened 8 years ago was incredibly horrific, and they had barely escaped from the jaws of death. Anyway, Sri looks toward Ronnie and says that her weight has been increasing lately, and she asks her if she happens to be pregnant. But Andy jokingly says that Ronnie has been eating a bit too much junk food lately, which must have caused her weight gain, and that it isn't a pregnancy matter. However, we can see here that a hint of anxiety appears on Ronnie's face. Anyway, Sri warns them not to have a baby right now at all, and hearing this, Andy becomes surprised and asks what the problem is. But Sri remains completely silent, as if she was still hiding some secret. Meanwhile, after finishing breakfast, Andy and Dina meet Sri and leave for work. But Sri keeps staring toward Ronnie's stomach because her belly was protruding slightly. Consequently, Ronnie gets anxious due to this and goes inside. In the next scene, a worker named Sino in the sugarcane fields informs Andy that they have controlled the wild weeds damaging the sugarcane. They've completely cleared them out. Andy now breathes a sigh of relief because last time, the quality of the sugarcane had dropped by 5%, which was quite shocking. After that, on the other side, we see Sri, who had chosen a new shaman who was also her mentor, named Ki Raso. Just then, Raso assures her that if their protective amulet is kept carefully, no evil spirit will be able to enter her house. So Sri should not worry at all. Sri says that even though nothing massive has happened yet, she still can't shake this strange feeling of fear. So Raso says that the fear in our mind usually does not come from the outside, but rather takes birth from within ourselves. So there was definitely something she was hiding, or there was some matter that was continuously causing her stress. At this point, Ki Raso takes a mirror, pours water over it, and begins performing some chanting into the water. Suddenly, that water begins to boil. Bubbles begin to rise, and seeing this, he asks Sri if she is truly sure that all the evil events of the past are genuinely over. Suddenly, a terrible disaster strikes. A fire had suddenly broken out in Andy's sugarcane fields. Anyway, on the other side inside the house, we see that the photo frame of Sri's parents falls down from the wall and breaks on its own. Meanwhile, Sri returns home, and seeing the broken photo frame of her parents, she quickly tries to call them. After that, Sri keeps trying to contact them over the phone for a long time, but she is unable to speak to them. So Andy tells his mother that perhaps Grandma and Grandpa's landline is out of order, or they might have gone out somewhere, which is why the call isn't going through. Andy requests his mother not to stress so much over these superstitions and to eat her food. But Sri was getting a gut feeling that something wrong had happened to her parents. Anyway, seeing his mother frightened, Andy says that a single frame falling down does not mean a massive bad omen. And now, both of SRI's children were quite exhausted by their mother's overprotective behavior. So Andy requests his mother to live in peace and not be so afraid. But Sri storms off to her room in anger. Later, to calm her mother Sri's anger and make her feel better, Dina brings her a cup of ginger tea, which was her favorite. She tells her mother that Grandpa and Grandma must be completely fine, and after requesting her to drink the tea, she leaves the room. Anyway, in the next scene, we see Sri standing in front of her parents' house. Despite knocking on the door, nobody opens it. But when Sri opens the gate, the door was unlocked from the inside. She steps inside and immediately notices hot tea and a traditional Indonesian breakfast sitting on the table, which are still warm. Seeing this, she becomes quite terrified because her parents would never do such a thing. Now, Sri spots blood on the floor, and just then, a sudden sound occurs and the sound of a door opening is heard. As soon as Sri moves toward that door, someone calls out to her from the next room. Anyway, now Sri goes into her mother's room, where her mother was on the bed, having passed away. Her mother's throat had been slit. Her father slowly emerged from the cupboard behind her, with an axe buried deep in his head. Just as her mother grabbed Sri, she suddenly woke up. It had all been a nightmare, but Sri knew better. Because of her past with black magic, she believed these nightmares were never completely false. At least part of what she saw always carried a terrifying truth. Now, the next day, Andy and Ronnie go to the hospital, where the doctor checks Ronnie and informs her that she is 2 months pregnant, meaning Sri's suspicion was absolutely correct. They both thank God. Now, while they are returning, Ronnie says to Andy that perhaps Sri doesn't want grandchildren right now, to which Andy replies that it is nothing like that, and this would be the perfect opportunity to give his mother the good news. On the way, Andy finds someone standing by the roadside cloaked in a shroud, and seeing this makes him quite troubled. Anyway, before reaching home, Dina informs them that Grandpa had called and his health is very poor, so they need to go there immediately. Andy laments that his mother's fear from last night turned out to be true. In fact, both of them inform Dina that her sister-in-law is pregnant, but Dina says that this might not be the right time to tell their mother, due to which they do not mention anything about it. Anyway, now Sri sets out for her parents' house along with her children and daughter-in-law. On the way, Andy apologizes to Sri for his rude behavior, and Sri also apologizes to everyone for her over-anxious behavior. She feels that she was simply overthinking. Meanwhile, their house amulet falls down, and with one more mark added, its count had become an even number. The amulet now had 6 marks, meaning danger was closing in on the family. And then, everyone arrives at Grandpa's house. Grandpa welcomes everyone with love and invites them to the food he prepared. Sri looks at her mother's pale face and inquires about her health, but she claims to be fine. Sri's father mentions that perhaps mother was missing all of you very much, especially her daughter-in-law Ronnie, and she didn't want to worry you. Now, Sri apologizes for not coming to visit for so many days. Now, after Sri's mother leaves, Sri notices that the same tea and breakfast were kept on the table that she saw in her dream. But this time it was cold, and a foul smell was coming from it. Now, when she takes it to the kitchen, Sri's father says that he is going to the shed, meaning the storeroom for the time being. Just then, Andy and Ronnie see that all the food lying in the utensils had rotted. What's even stranger was that here, Sri's mother was cooking completely raw chicken, meaning it was kept on the gas stove but the gas wasn't turned on, and a stench was coming from it, infested with maggots. Dina realizes that Grandma simply forgot to light the stove, and Sri regretfully says that she should have come here much earlier. Then she tells her son Andy to take Grandma to the room and let her rest, while Ronnie, Dina, and Sri themselves decide to throw away all the stale and rotten items from the kitchen together, even though a massive stench was coming out of it. Now, when Andy asks Grandma about her needle and thread work, Grandma fails to recognize him entirely and asks, "Who are you?" So Andy reminds her that he is her grandson. Over here, as soon as the fridge is opened, Ronnie starts vomiting from the stench. Sri tells her to clean the rotten meat accumulated in the fridge and asks her to throw it away. What puzzled them even more was why Grandma and Grandpa needed so much meat in the first place. Meanwhile, Dina hears the sound of a cat while throwing out the trash. But suddenly, a sound was coming from the storeroom, meaning the shed. Dina grows curious, due to which she peeks inside and asks for permission to enter. But her grandpa refuses in a strange manner and says that it is very dirty inside, and he will handle it. A very weird sound was also coming from inside, as if meat was being chopped. Anyway, at dinner, Andy begins reminiscing about childhood memories of hide and seek and starts laughing. He shares that once he had fallen asleep hiding in Grandma's wardrobe, which panicked everyone. Dina jokingly asks Grandpa and Grandma if they remember everything. Now, initially they say nothing, but when everyone falls silent here, suddenly both of them begin to laugh very loudly in a horrific manner, as if they understood the joke a long time later. Later, Sri tells Dina that she wants to take Grandpa and Grandma back home with them because they will need care in their old age, suspecting they might have developed dementia. Now, in the middle of the night, the sleeping Grandpa and Grandma begin to float in the air, which was a highly shocking thing, meaning something had definitely gone wrong with both of them. At that same time, Ronnie, who got up to drink water, sees Grandpa sleepwalking and asks where she is going. Just then, Grandpa comes over and says that Grandma has a habit of sleepwalking, and he will take care of her. Anyway, the next morning, Dina starts looking for her cat. Now, on the other side, Sri becomes troubled upon seeing blood on a sanitary pad in the bathroom. Now comes a very weird scene in this movie where when Ronnie opens her eyes in the morning, she sees Grandma right in front of her and gets terrified. But Grandma lovingly tells her to rest, as if she had understood that Ronnie is pregnant. Anyway, Sri consoles Dina, who is sad about her cat, and sends her to fetch rice. At the same time, she asks her about her periods. But brushing the matter aside, Dina says it might be related to Ronnie. Obviously, Dina didn't have her periods, and we also know that this couldn't be the case for Ronnie either since she was pregnant. So whose pad was it? And I believe this was none other than Grandma. Either this wasn't really Grandma anymore, or she had been possessed. Meanwhile, seeing Ronnie's tension, Andy plans to take her out for a walk. At that very moment, Sri sees her father going outside barefoot with an axe in his hand and asks where he is going. What's even stranger is that when Sri asks him to take Andy along, he refuses. Now, Andy informs Grandma and takes Ronnie out for a walk, and Grandma tells them to return by noon. Now, while returning from the shop, Dina sees her grandpa going into a deep part of the forest and follows behind him. But after going just a short distance, she trips and falls down. By the time she gets up, her grandpa had vanished. Now on the other side, Andy and Ronnie are roaming amidst the beautiful scenery of the forest, and they go and sit near a lake where they were spending time together themselves immensely. Right then, Andy shares his childhood memories with Ronnie because he hadn't told her the shocking truth yet about what happened 8 years ago and why Sri behaves this way. He shares that he and Dina used to play in this very forest. At this point, when Ronnie asks for the real truth, meaning the shocking truth, regarding the death of Andy's father due to black magic, Andy first makes her promise that even after knowing the truth, she won't misunderstand his family or judge them. Then Andy reveals that his mother Sri had 2 close friends, Layla and Herman. Herman actually loved Layla and was her boyfriend, but Sri also fell in love with him and resorted to black magic to get him, meaning through Jarwo. Just then, the problem that occurred was that Layla got pregnant. But this didn't make any difference to them, and Sri married Herman. 20 years later, Layla and her daughter, Hani, returned to take revenge. Using black magic, they killed Herman first. During the same attack, Andy, Sri, and Dina also came dangerously close to losing their lives. But Andy reached there in the nick of time and saved their lives. Andy also explains that Hani was actually the daughter of Layla and Herman, and she had deceived the entire family by faking love for Andy. She was the one practicing the black magic. Finally, to save his mother and sister, Andy burned Layla and Hani in the fire. During their conversation, he repeatedly hears a strange laughter from the other side of the lake, which Ronnie was unable to hear, and when he pays close attention, he spots Hani there, but she vanishes in the blink of an eye. On the other side in the forest, Dina reaches while searching for her grandpa, and he was chopping something, completely naked without a single piece of clothing on his body. Along with that, a lot of blood was smeared on him. Just then, as soon as Grandpa turns to look, Dina flees from there out of sheer terror. At home, Sri now hears her mother standing in the kitchen and muttering. She was saying that the dead will rise on the night of the full moon, just when Dina returns. Meanwhile, when Sri asks her mother what she is doing, Grandma shows her with a highly evil laugh. Here is your cat, which she had slaughtered, and she was cooking it for everyone. She says, I am cooking food for all of you. And then, she urinates right there while standing. At this point, Sri takes her to the bathroom and begins cleaning her up. But shockingly, she is stunned to see deep wound marks on her back, apologizes, and promises that she will take care of her parents herself from now on and take them to a good doctor. She still believed that they had developed dementia. Anyway, in the meantime, while burying her cat, Dina sees Grandpa going into the storeroom carrying something in his hand. When she follows him, her grandpa comes out, questions her, and tells her to go back to the house. Anyway, at night, Dina tells Sri that Grandpa and Grandma's behavior feels very bizarre. This wasn't normal. It wasn't dementia. But Sri dismisses it as symptoms of dementia, saying that memory loss and abnormal behavior are common in this disease. When Dina mentions the threat of the past supernatural black magic, Sri forbids her from saying anything more about it, getting quite angry because these very people used to say that Sri overthinks. So she was feeling quite bad here that when she is trying to remain normal, her children are now seeing black magic here. But look, 100% black magic had occurred here because we have seen their bodies floating in the air. Now over here, Andy sees Hani mocking him by reminding him of his past with a ghostly laugh. And when Ronnie sees him troubled and restless, she asks for the reason. But Andy evades the question and says that he is perfectly fine, meaning he did not want to accept that he was seeing Hani. On the other side, Sri goes to her parents' room and checks on them sleeping. But as soon as she leaves, both of them sit up in a bizarre manner, as if they were waiting for her to leave. In the middle of the night, Dina hears a voice saying that the dead will rise under the full moon. Anyway, when she goes outside to check, she notices her grandma quietly slipping out, just when she hears the exact same line from the storeroom in Grandpa's voice. When Dina tries to peek inside the storeroom, Grandpa suddenly charges after her with an axe. Terrified, Dina runs inside the house and locks the door. Moments later, Grandpa keeps pounding on the door and calling out for a while, but suddenly the noise stops, and the very next moment, shockingly, Dina finds her grandpa standing before her in a completely normal state. He asks the reason for her being awake at night, so Dina makes an excuse of drinking water and leaves from there. She was highly terrified after witnessing all this. The craziest part is that on the top floor of that shed, meaning the storeroom, we can see someone's light, meaning someone was definitely living up there. Anyway, that same night, Ronnie wakes up upon hearing a mysterious lullaby in the Javanese language. She sees Grandma standing in front of her, gently caressing her stomach, meaning she knew that Ronnie is pregnant. Meanwhile, the next morning, Dina tries to convince her mother, this is not normal dementia, Mom. And the person she saw last night wasn't her real grandpa at all. But Sri refuses to believe her words. She says that earlier when she herself spoke of supernatural threats, everyone mocked her as over-anxious and silenced her. And now when she is trying to remain normal, Dina is doubting her. Anyway, on the other side, Ronnie tells Andy that she won't stay here any longer because Grandma's mysterious behavior was terrifying her. Andy consoles her that they will return very soon and Grandma would never wish ill upon her. And another thing was that Ronnie goes ahead and informs Dina about what had happened to her. Anyways, after a little while, Sri is watering the plants outside in the garden when a man arrives at the house fencing, saying that he had come to collect donations for the mosque a few days ago, but no one was home back then, meaning he had come here a few days ago to ask for donations, but there was absolutely no one inside the house. He had knocked several times, but nobody came out. At this point, Sri is stunned to hear this because her elderly parents could never leave the house empty for so many days. The man repeats that he had knocked on all the doors and windows, yet received no response from inside, which is why he asked if the owners have returned. Upon hearing this, Sri rushes inside the house, but her parents are nowhere to be seen. She asks the children, but nobody had seen Grandpa and Grandma. Sri gets distressed because she wanted to take her mother to the doctor today, and where did they vanish before that could happen? Then Dina reminds her that she had seen her grandpa heading towards the forest. Hearing this, Sri, Andy, Dina, and Ronnie all head out into the forest together to search for Grandpa and Grandma, calling out their names. Right then, Dina takes everyone to the exact spot where she had seen Grandpa inside the forest. Upon reaching there, everyone finds the headless carcasses of goats, which was an extremely horrific sight. Seeing this, everyone panics. Andy asks in astonishment if Dina is truly certain that Grandpa did all this. Dina sadly remarks that Andy isn't believing her either, just like their mother. Anyway, during this time, Ronnie starts feeling nauseous seeing all this and moves a short distance away to vomit. Suddenly, she sees the evil spirit of Jarwo right in front of her. Yes, the same Jarwo from part 1 who was destroyed. But the moment Andy arrives, it vanishes. Moments later, it becomes night while searching, and everyone returns home. They were quite disappointed that they couldn't find the two of them. Sri fears that her elderly parents might have lost their way in the forest, and they begin deciding to inform the police. But just then, the sound of a gramophone playing echoes inside the house. Music was playing. Everyone sees that Sri's parents were playing a song and dancing, and mud was smeared on their feet, meaning it was true that they had gone inside the forest, and they had done all this to avoid going to the doctor. After that, while cleaning her mother, Sri begins to ask the reason for going to the forest. But Grandma was interested in Ronnie. Seeing Ronnie's pale face, she expresses concern for her health and the baby growing in her womb. When Sri asks how she found out about the pregnancy, she replies that a mother's intuition is never wrong. Soon, Andy confirms the pregnancy news. But instead of being happy, Sri gets irritated in a very bizarre way and becomes terrified. Ronnie bursts into tears, and Andy comforts her, saying that his mother didn't do this intentionally as she was under immense stress. Anyway, on the other side, Dina notices that Sri was sitting completely lifeless and deeply lost in thought. Meanwhile, what happens later is that Andy sees Hani inside the bathroom. Mocking him, she says that his mother doesn't like his baby, and this pain is still very minor. With a horrific laugh, Hani vanishes from there, and Andy steps out of the bathroom. However, while heading to his room, he hears a voice. When he goes to Grandpa and Grandma's room, the bed was empty. Right then, a light was burning inside the shed, which was lit both downstairs and on the top floor, and Andy goes close to listen to both of them repeatedly uttering the same phrase. The dead will rise on the full moon night. Since the door doesn't open, he peeks from the outside and sees both performing bizarre acts, and the very next moment, they start eating raw meat, seeing which Andy retreats to his room out of fear, meaning whatever was happening was extremely dangerous. On the other side, Sri sees the door of her room opening on its own, and when she goes to check, she sees her deceased husband, Herman. Blaming her, Herman says that whatever is happening today, Sri alone is responsible for it. Terrified, Sri calls out to Dina, but instead, Layla's horrific laughter begins to echo, and Sri screams because Layla was there too. Right then, the next morning, Grandpa and Grandma appear in the kitchen. But they were doing every single chore in a completely abnormal, extremely rapid manner, as if they were in a rush for something. And this time, they were actually preparing decent food. Meanwhile, the next morning when Dina wakes up, she finds a letter written by Sri, in which it was mentioned that she was going out with Andy's car for some urgent work. After a little while, Andy comes and informs that his car is missing, and he wanted to take Ronnie away from there. He asks where Mother is, stating that he had planned to take everyone back home today itself. Then Dina shows him that letter from their mother. On the other side, Sri is driving somewhere, and black-colored blood was flowing from her nose, meaning she was being affected by black magic or something sinister. Just then, Ronnie informs Andy and Dina that while she was vomiting in the forest, she had seen a mysterious man wearing a long cloak in front of her. Meanwhile, upon hearing this, Andy and Dina immediately understand that this is none other than Jarwo, meaning Jarwo had returned. Dina says that Jarwo should have been destroyed, but perhaps Layla brought him back to life. Right then, Andy also reveals that he too had hidden one thing. He has been seeing the ghost of Hani lately, meaning either Layla or Hani was definitely alive. Just then, the door opens and Grandma enters the room, asking if everyone is awake. She mentions that she has prepared special food for everyone and tells them to come outside. Meanwhile, Sri had actually driven to the shaman Ki Raso, and she informs him about her daughter-in-law's pregnancy and the danger looming over them. Ki Raso explains that the devil does not let go so easily, and Sri pleads with folded hands that even if the punishment is given to her, her family must be saved. Right then, Ki Raso points out that since so many charms and protective spells were placed inside Shri's house, how could any demonic power enter it? Suddenly, Ki Raso realizes that these people have left their protective shielded house and are staying at Shri's parents' home. So he immediately warns that the devil has played a massive deception on them, meaning, luring them there was the devil's trap. Back at the house, Andy and Dina also realize that they are in grave danger. They eat the food, which appears completely normal. And over here, Grandpa and Grandma were flashing highly bizarre smiles. Anyway, Andy tells Dina and Ronnie to stay together and heads toward the shed himself to check what exactly is inside. And Dina sets off to check Grandpa's room. Meanwhile, Andy was trying to break the lock of the storeroom. During this time, we see that Grandma was repeatedly calling out to Ronnie to come out of the kitchen, sit with her, spend time with her, and she begins to entice her to stay with her, making Ronnie tremble with fear. Anyway, Andy fails to break the lock and begins searching for an alternative way to get inside. Meanwhile, Ronnie fearfully approaches Grandpa and Grandma, and they make her sit on a chair, and then both start treating her in a highly bizarre manner. They come close to her ear and try to whisper something. At this point, Ki Raso informs Sri that the devils knew it was impossible to breach the protective shield of Shri's house. Therefore, they fabricated the entire drama of illness to trap her family and lure them out of the house. Saying this, Ki Raso pours water on a mirror and begins chanting. At that exact moment, Andy manages to break into the storeroom, and inside he finds 4 severed goat heads and 4 black magic dolls, which bore photos of none other than Shri's entire family, including Ronnie. Over there, due to the effect of Ki Raso's spells, the water on the mirror starts boiling violently, and Sri suddenly coughs up blood. Just then, Jarwo's face emerges in the mirror. Jarwo laughs and says that Sri can never escape her destiny. She must fulfill the promise made to the devil, and the devils will hunt her down everywhere. Suddenly, that mirror shatters, and a shard of it pierces into Raso's eye. Right then, Ki Raso quickly shoves something into Shri's hand and tries to whisper something vital into her ear. He had given her a dagger, along with a pouch containing a special spell inside. But the very next moment, he is violently thrown back and crashes at a distance. And seeing Ki Raso's agonizing state, Sri breaks down completely and weeps, meaning Ki Raso was destroyed as well. At that moment, Dina finds a locket under Grandpa and Grandma's bed, while Andy discovers the actual corpses of both of them. Yes, meaning Grandpa and Grandma weren't alive all this time. The horrifying truth was that her Grandpa and Grandma had been slaughtered, and those who were here until now were probably jinn or their spirits being controlled. Along with this, Dina also notices that the 30th date was marked on the calendar with Gerbang Sukma, meaning the spirit gate, written on it. Suddenly, someone attacks Dina from behind and knocks her unconscious. On the other side, Ronnie sees the true terrifying form of Grandpa and Grandma. Grandma's head detaches and falls down, and Ronnie runs away in terror. The craziest part was that Grandma was talking to her with that severed head, but the very next moment, everything vanished. Seizing this opportunity, Hani knocks Ronnie unconscious as well. And then she appears before Andy and reveals that she hadn't died. Her mother's loyal servant, Salim, had saved her life, meaning the person driving the ambulance at the end of the first part was Salim, and the survivor there was Hani. However, the burn wounds still remind her of her past and her deep hatred toward Shree's family. The moment Hani found out about Rani's pregnancy, meaning when both went to the hospital, she swore an oath that she would never let Andy's family live in peace. Hani mentions that Salim had even advised her to drop the revenge. But when he threatened to inform the police, Hani brutally executed him and ripped his heart out to eat it. Meaning, she performed a ritual, and the reason she ate the heart was to execute a horrific ritual to resurrect the deceased shaman Jarwo via black magic and bring him under her control. Jarwo revealed that Shree's house is surrounded by a powerful protective shield, for which he applauds Shree, and therefore Hani made Andy and Rani's unborn child her next target. Over here, Hani had already asked Jarwo's evil spirit if an unborn fetus would suffice since Rani is pregnant, making Jarwo highly delighted as he had become completely evil. Just then, on the full moon night, Jarwo begins reciting demonic chants to open the spirit gate and awaken the dead, and we can see how Hani had arrived and brutally slaughtered Shree's parents. And when Andy asks the reason for this, Hani laughs and says she wants to torture and eliminate his entire family together. And right then, Jarwo knocks Andy unconscious. The horrifying truth was that the dream Shree saw was absolute reality. That was exactly how Hani finished off her parents there. Moments later, when Shree returns home at night, she finds everyone missing, and seeing the date marked for the Spirit Gate ritual, she sets out to find them all. On the other side, Hani was tying everyone up in the cemetery, preparing to open the Spirit Gate on the full moon night. Her true goal was to sacrifice Rani's unborn child to bring her mother, Layla, back from hell. And to complete that ritual, they were going to sacrifice a buffalo alongside it. Soon, when Andy begs for the lives of Rani and the baby, Jarwo reveals a massive truth and friends. This is where the movie's biggest twist is finally revealed. Jarwo reveals that years ago, Shree had promised the devil to sacrifice her firstborn child with his help just to save her marriage with Herman. But later, she bargained to sacrifice her first grandson or granddaughter to the devil instead. And now you must have understood why Shree was strictly against having any grandson or granddaughter and why terror gripped her face, because it was all her fault. Hani says that Rani's child is now entitled to that sacrifice, and if it won't serve Shree's purpose, it will definitely serve hers. But Andy furiously yells to take his life instead, but leave his wife alone and do nothing to his child. But Hani refuses because she required an innocent, pure soul to bring back her mother Layla, which was this very baby who was barely 2 months old. After that, Jarwo begins reciting the chants to open the spirit gate, and Hani extracts the fetus from Rani's womb using black magic, which was an extremely horrific scene. Rani begins writhing in agonizing pain, and Andy is left watching everything completely helpless. Now, in a blind rage, Andy begins cursing Hani, while at that exact moment, Jarwo had sacrificed a buffalo there, severing its head. Suddenly, Shree sneaks in quietly, covertly unties Andy and Dina, and apologizes for her past mistakes, acknowledging that she knows it is all her fault, but both of them remain silent. Meanwhile, the spirit gate begins to open, and Layla resurrects right out of that buffalo, and Shree decides to end everything by pouring kerosene over herself, but Jarwo hurls her away. She was advancing toward him with a knife, meaning that same dagger, but she fails to achieve anything. Andy and Dina also confront him, but they stand no chance against him because Jarwo's power had escalated massively. He had become extremely evil, to the point where he wasn't just Jarwo anymore, but a literal demon. Anyway, in the end, Shree blows a powder from the pouch given by Ki Raso into the air, which severely weakens Jarwo's power, and she instantly stabs Jarwo with it, meaning this dagger was meant to destroy evil spirits and demons, and right then, Jarwo was finally destroyed, and his evil spirit was gone for good. Now, Shree moves toward the spirit gate holding a torch. Dina tries desperately to stop her, and Andy tries too, but Shree, apologizing one last time for her sins, sets herself on fire, dragging Layla down with her and closing the gates of hell forever. Meaning, all the people who had started this were now finished here. Neither Herman survived, nor Layla, nor Shree. She punished herself for her own mistake, realizing she had to destroy herself so her children could remain safe. During this, Consumed by rage, Hani lunges at Dina, but this time, Andy strikes her with a rock, crushing her head to pieces and finishing her off. And with Shree's sacrifice, the spirit gate is shut forever, breaking the demonic cycle completely. In the end, neither Hani, Layla, nor Sri survived. Jarwo's evil spirit was gone as well. Anyway, after this, we see Andy, Dina, and Ronnie leaving this cursed house and their dark past behind, getting into the car to start a new life. Now we can see the spirits of Sri and Herman standing at a distance in the house, smiling as they watch their children safe and free, happy that the punishment for their sins wouldn't have to be suffered by their children at last. And that's where the movie comes to an end. So friends, this was the story of the film Kafir Part 2, meaning Kafir, the spirit gate Kafir Gerbang Sukma. I hope you liked this movie, and trust me, this was even better and far more dangerous than Part 1. If you enjoyed this explanation, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to Ghostly Screen, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another horror recap. Let me know in the comments which scene terrified you the most, and which horror movie you want me to explain next. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, some doors are never meant to be opened. I'll see you in the next one.